Truth is stranger than fiction. I'd heard the saying before, but nothing prepared me for the absurdity of what was to come. My name is Sarah, and I had an experience that defies belief. I met my boyfriend, David, through a mutual friend, and after dating for just over a year, it seemed only natural that we get married. As we settled into our new life together, I moved into his apartment and started organizing our things. We were on the brink of submitting our marriage registration when I was suddenly struck down with a fever and diagnosed with the flu at the hospital. David, ever the reliable partner, assured me, "I'll handle the marriage registration." Trusting him, I left it in his hands. Hours later, I heard David's voice and then a sweet female voice calling out, "David." A wave of concern hit me. Had he brought another woman home while I was sick? But no, it wasn't a fever-induced delusion. David had come back with his mother. She marched straight to our bedroom and called out, "Sarah, aren't you coming out to greet me?" as if demanding a welcome from someone who was clearly unwell. What kind of person was she? I pretended to be asleep, hoping to avoid further confrontation, but her next move was even worse. She yanked the blanket off me and scolded, "You're still in your pajamas." Of course, I was still in my pajamas, because I was sick. "Get up and change immediately. You look disgraceful," she ordered, trying to pull me out of bed. "Please leave me alone. I have the flu and it's contagious," I pleaded, my voice a mix of frustration and panic. Where was David during all this? From the living room, I could hear the loud sound of the TV and his laughter echoing along with a comedy show. "David, your mother is practically attacking your wife. Is this how you treat your wife? Unbelievable. Fine, if you're too sick to cook, I'll handle David's meal. Be grateful, you useless fool," she shouted before storming out. Her cruelty towards someone who was bedridden was nothing short of wicked. "David, I'm making your dinner, okay?" I overheard her say. Exhausted by the heated exchange, I felt utterly drained. If you heard, why didn't you stop her? My frustration with David only grew as he failed to intervene and allowed his mother's relentless abuse to continue. Unable to find peace, it took 5 long days for my fever to finally subside. I couldn't help but regret agreeing to marry him. I missed my single life deeply. After a 2-day rest, I returned to work and informed my boss that I was married. With no wedding ceremony planned, I only notified him and the HR department. At work, being something of a loner, my only close contact was Anna, who worked in HR. "Congratulations on your marriage. A week off for the honeymoon? I'm so envious." Anna's teasing smile made me sigh. "I just got hit with the flu and had to endure torment from my mother-in-law." "What? That's hilariously tragic," she said, though I didn't find it amusing at all. She then gave me some instructions. "It's been a week since you filed your marriage registration. You should be able to get some paperwork with your new name and address on it. Go get that sorted and let me know so I can update your details in our system." I listened, trying to keep a serious expression. At that moment, all I could think about was getting a divorce. I hadn't anticipated such a shocking turn of events. After work, I went straight to City Hall to request the paperwork. I was advised to collect it. However, when I looked at the document, I saw my maiden name still printed on it. "What does this mean?" I texted Anna urgently. "The paperwork still has my maiden name. What's going on?" She replied almost immediately, "I don't think your marriage has been registered." Don't tell me, I thought, realizing that what I believed to be a marriage might have been just a figment of my imagination. "I think you're right." Shocking, isn't it? Anna seemed frustrated by the back and forth messages and called me directly. "You haven't been scammed out of money, have you?" "No, the only thing I've lost is my peace of mind. Just in case, you should apply for an annulment. Your husband might be a con artist." "A con artist? The person I've been with for over a year? A con artist?" It seemed extreme, but with his mother's behavior, it wasn't entirely out of the realm of possibility. Taking Anna's advice to heart, I went ahead and applied for an annulment of my marriage. "Aren't you shocked?" Anna asked, still on the phone. I stared blankly into space. Logically, being betrayed by your partner should be shocking, but after enduring David's mother's bullying while I was sick and seeing David act like a mama's boy, I'd surprisingly realized that I no longer loved him. The treatment I received from his mother made it clear that staying in that situation wouldn't be good for me. "If you're okay, that's good to hear. But what about your boyfriend? What was going on with him?" I, too, was curious about his intentions. There had to be more to it, something that would be exposed as soon as the marriage registration was checked, just like it was today. David is 27 and has a decent job. He must have known his deception would come to light quickly. Maybe there was more to this. Perhaps he was committing marriage fraud. Maybe he was testing me. If I couldn't figure it out, it would make me a perfect target for scammers. I was deeply offended to be treated like such a fool. I couldn't forgive David for what he'd done. Fueled by anger, I made a decision. I boasted to Anna about my plan, but what I actually managed to do was quite mundane. I recorded conversations and watched the footage of David and his mother. It felt as though I was the one committing a crime. After about 3 days of this, all I had captured was more of his mother's bullying and the usual conversations between the mama's boy and his mother. My interest waned, and I grew bored with the lack of solid evidence. Being a detective wasn't as easy as it seemed. Little did I know, an unexpected turn of events was about to unfold later that very day. At dinner, as I choked down his mother's bland beef stew and endured her usual verbal attacks, I must have looked emotionally drained. Seeing my defeated state, his mother smirked with satisfaction and let out a chuckle. "You've seemed unhappy ever since you got married, Sarah. But you know, it's because you're not fulfilling your duties as a wife, so I'm here to teach you. You should be grateful for that." I could barely muster the energy to respond. What kind of answer was that? What a terrible woman David's mother was. It was fortunate, in a way, that she wasn't my mother-in-law. Wait, did she know I wasn't actually married to David? Was she bullying me despite knowing I wasn't her daughter-in-law? "Mom, oops, I let it slip. My bad," she said, fake coughing and casting a sidelong glance at me. "Let me explain. David and I had a plan for our happiness." What? This was an unexpected twist. I had assumed David was acting alone, but it turned out his mother was involved in the deception as well. Did they realize I was investigating? What does she mean by our happiness? Intrigued by this dramatic development, I listened closely. "You seem to be in the dark, so let me clarify. Your marriage registration was never filed. This means you and David are still just strangers." Yes, I knew that. It was my decision to go along with it, though I felt guilty. I did it because Mom instructed me. We wanted to see if you were truly right for David. If you turned out to be unsuitable, he could simply have a child with you and then leave. This way, we wouldn't sully our family records. They wanted a child, not my money. What exactly are you saying? The reason we didn't file your marriage registration was that we were testing you to determine if you'd make a good wife. What was that? Could any novel have such a dull plot? All my efforts over the past 3 days had amounted to nothing. Feeling defeated, I headed to our bedroom, where I had already packed my bags in case I needed to make a quick escape if my eavesdropping was discovered. As I gathered my things, David rushed over in a panic. "I never meant to hurt your feelings." "It's okay. Goodbye," I said, avoiding his gaze. What more could I say? Was I really involved with a con artist? It felt like something out of a fiction movie. When I unexpectedly returned home, my parents were stunned. As I recounted the events, they were left speechless, their mouths hanging open. Given the late hour, they told me to get some rest, treating me with an unusual degree of concern. The next day was Sunday, and I spent the night letting off steam at a nearby pub with Anna and a few other friends. By the following morning, I was over it, though I had no idea what awaited me. That Monday night, the doorbell rang at my parents' house, and my father's angry voice boomed through the house. "Get out." I rushed downstairs to find David standing at the entrance with his mother looming behind him. "Sarah, you need to listen to me," David pleaded, pushing past my father. "Why should I? Everything was fine when we were dating, wasn't it?" "Just hear me out," David began. Apparently, word had spread about how he treated me, thanks to a mutual friend. His coworkers, who were also friends of mine, had given him cold stares at work. When he pressed for an explanation, a colleague had confronted him with, "So, you committed blatant marriage fraud?" Now that I thought about it, one of David's coworkers had been at our all-night venting session. David seemed to believe that if he could win my forgiveness, he could also repair his damaged relationships with his colleagues. "I never meant to deceive you. I was planning to file our marriage registration in secret later on." "Really? You thought I wouldn't find out?" "You're not that clueless, are you?" I went to get some legal documents and found out immediately that David's claims were true. He genuinely didn't know about the registration issue. I felt foolish for suspecting something more sinister. As I stood there, stunned, his mother stormed in. "You knew about this and still stayed with David for a few days." Forgive him immediately, and then I'll consider you as my daughter-in-law. Honestly, I couldn't care less about your approval. Even if you begged, I wouldn't want to be your daughter-in-law. What did you just say? Your son is a mama's boy, and your cooking is awful. I'm fed up with your bullying and your petty sarcasm. What? I continued, watching his mother's face turn red with anger. You wanted me to have his child and not ruin the family's reputation. Isn't that a gross violation of my rights? Did you even think of me as a person with feelings, not just a tool? And don't you dare speak to my mother like that. Do you still not understand what's going on? What you did is called marriage fraud. I didn't do anything wrong. You wasted my precious time. Time is valuable, you fool. I nearly grabbed David by the collar, but my father stepped in. Sarah, that's enough. The neighbors are watching. I looked around to see that we had attracted quite a crowd, with neighbors clapping and cheering, "Go Sarah." Meanwhile, those who knew David and his mother were whispering and spreading rumors. I glared at the now pale David and his mother and threatened them. Don't ever come near here again. If I see either of you around my house, I'll call the police. As an afterthought, I added, David, I've recorded conversations of your mother bullying me. I'll be seeking compensation, so expect a call from my lawyer. I said this with a triumphant smile. After that, David's situation only worsened. He was ostracized and removed from team projects, relegated to a mundane role in the document management department, essentially a notice of redundancy. My gossip-loving mother filled me in on what happened to David's mother. During our confrontation at my parents' house, someone she knew was present, and soon they became infamous in the neighborhood as the Foster mother and son. They now lived a constrained life, constantly trying to avoid being seen. It was all a consequence of their own foolishness. I couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction at how things turned out for David and his mother.